We've been speaking with Mark Cuban about his view of some of the aid programs out there and potential other programs that could help as well. This as we're seeing the S&P 500 rise by about 0.4% here to end the week. Mark, the last time we talked with you, the president had just announced that he was going to be having this sort of advisory council on reopening with a number of different CEOs. You were included on that list, I believe. You were just talking about reopening in Texas and what that would have to look like, and that there's still a lot of pieces that need to get put in place. If you're talking about a broader scale and talking about nationally, what are the things that we need to think about, and what have you or would you tell the president on that front?
I basically communicated the exact things we just talked about. Protocols in place, whether it's from the CDC or somewhere else, so that businesses understand what's involved to get back open and how to protect their employees and customers. Payment programs, what changes and adjustments in the PPP. I haven't had a chance to read it to see if any of my suggestions got in there. But I'll give them credit. We haven't had a follow-up call, but they assigned somebody to me who's been very responsive to all my emails. So I give them credit for being responsive.
Hey, Mark, Julia again. In the last several weeks now, I'm sure you've probably had a lot of time to do quite a bit of reflecting, and I know we all have pretty much. And I'm wondering if in this period, if you've changed your mind on anything, whether it's, policy, the role of government, or, the role of corporations, if there's anything that's kind of shifted for you that maybe even surprised you.
Everything. 100%. I mean, I read Ayn Rand. I was, Howard Rourke. I was libertarian. I was, I thought government had a role, but smaller government was always better than bigger government. And that all changed. If you were to ask me 4 months ago whether I thought we could lose 26 million jobs and potentially many more within the space of a month, I would have said, you're crazy. There's just no way that's going to happen. And so dogma's got to go out the window. And so, a federal jobs program, I would have been against that. Federal minimum wage, I would have been against that. There's just so many things that I think we need to do now. And that's what entrepreneurs do. That's what, leaders do. When you face the circumstances you have and you deal with it. Effectively, all these $1 trillion investments are a put for, but this put has got to be not for the wealthy and not for big business, but for working people. Because unless we lift up from the bottom, we're not going to have any consumer demand. And it doesn't matter how much liquidity is in the system, the risk hasn't left the system.
So, Mark, based on what you just said, this question will annoy Dagny Taggart and John Gold, but my Ayn Rand reference. Why not, after we get past, as we slowly start to bring up, why not, based on what you just said about demand, why not have the government? There are 200 million adults in the United States. Send every adult $1,000 a month. I think, forgive me because I get zeroed out. That would be roughly, we're talking about $200 billion a month. Wouldn't that be a more effective way to deal with what we're dealing with as opposed to these programs?
Absolutely not. Look, and I know the UBIers are like Bitcoiners. They're going to come and attack when I tell you what I'm about to tell you. But first, I'm not against UBI for a partner who stays home to watch children, right? That makes sense because that's a job and that has value. But I'm going to quote JFK or paraphrase JFK. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, because we need people to contribute. And while UBI is great for individuals and gives them a lot of creative control and personal control over their life, and that's great. Right now, we need people to contribute to the economy. And if that means a federally guaranteed job where you're working as a crossing guard managed by the folks at AmeriCorps or the people in the Peace Corps or whatever organization, then I'm fine with that. If it's a federally created job for testing and tracing, that is going to contribute to the economy because we need people to do those jobs. Otherwise, we fall behind. So maybe in another world, UBI is a great solution. But where we are today, other than for partners staying home with kids, I'm not a fan.
Mark, Rick Newman again. You can tell we're about the finance geeks because we haven't asked you once about sports. So here's
that's okay.
So how does the NBA and other sports leagues, how do you get back to having games without fans?
Yeah, I mean, games without fans for sure. I mean, you're already seeing the PGA and NASCAR and even horse racing do some of the same things where essential employees are tested. And we'll do the same thing as soon as we think the science is ready and everybody can be safe.
Any idea when?
No, none.
Mark, it's Julia again. The last time I asked you at the request of another CEO if you would consider running for office, particularly the president. And you did say a lot of things have changed, everything's changed. And I'm starting to see a lot more calls for Mark Cuban 2020. So I want to get an update on that. And what do you think is missing right now from leadership in DC? And what do you think is kind of the quality that the president should have?
So leadership is missing. That's the key. And I think the people don't have someone they truly trust. Everything's so partisan. So everything's presented from a Republican or Democratic perspective. That's number one. Number two, there hasn't been a vision stated how we're going to get there. There's no transparency. There's no honesty. There's an attempt at communication. But without the transparency and honesty and vision, it's hard to know what's real and what's not real. And so, I'm not ready to announce anything. Obviously, time is shortening, but I do support an organization called the Center for Competitive Democracy.org, who sues people to get people sue states and the federal government to get people on the ballot. And we just won a situation in Illinois to make it easier for independent parties and individual candidates to get on the presidential ballot. So behind the scenes, I'm keeping the doors open, but I haven't made any decision yet.
Mark, what do you think would need to happen for you to even step up to that challenge, if you will? Like, what is it that would need to happen for you personally?
I mean, obviously, my family was against it. Otherwise, I already would have done it. But again, this is crazy, right? What's going on? I expect walkers from The Walking Dead to start pounding on my door. It's just so surreal. And so you just don't know what's going to happen next. And here we are facing 50 million people that are unemployed and underemployed, and that number is going to grow. And nobody's coming up with any solutions whatsoever. And that's a real problem. And I think we're going to start to see over the next couple of weeks that demand doesn't come back. Even when states open up, hoping it'll be the same as it was, it won't be the same. And if that's the case, then there's no solutions coming from anywhere, or all the solutions are dogmatic and partisan, that's when I think that door might open up some.
Mark, maybe end on a different note if we can. If I can get a little mushy here, is there anything that makes you hopeful that you're seeing right now? Any changes coming out of this that you think are going to be really positive?
Yeah, I mean, despite the horror of it all, this is the best time ever to start a business. And there's no country in the world that's better at starting companies, that has more entrepreneurs, that has a greater entrepreneurial spirit than the United States of America. And so when we look back in 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, there's going to be 25 or 50 world-class companies that were created specifically because the pandemic of 2020 happened. Things that changed the world. That's part one. Part two, this is our chance to really invest in America 2.0. We can invest in robotics and technology that give us the opportunity to, deal with the problems that are just in our lap right now. The fact that we're not able to control our own destiny because we don't manufacture core things that we need, whether it's products, PPE, or even drugs, we can start bringing those things back. There's an appetite for investing in those things right now. We don't dominate in AI like we need to. And this is a chance for us to create infrastructure 2.0. We're looking, for climate change, self-driving vehicles. There's no cars on the road. Now's the time to adjust the roads and build overpasses and making it safer. And if you're an entrepreneur out there and you're thinking about starting a business, do it. If you have a vision for America 2.0, it's going to come from somebody 16 or 60. We don't know. But when we come out on the other side, we're going to need people with that vision. And all you have to do is ask yourself, why not me? Why not us? Why can't we be the people who create that vision and change the world? Because now is the perfect time to do it. So yeah, I'm hopeful. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I think this country is going to come out ahead of the game, but it's not going to happen immediately. It's going to be 3, 5, who knows, however many years when we look back and say all the economic, destruction is behind us, but we will get there. That's what we do.
A call to arms. Mark Cuban, thank you so much for joining us again. It was great to get your perspective. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Thanks for all the questions.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.